Maya stared at her phone, her finger hovering over the send button. The dare had seemed hilarious 5 minutes ago when her best friend Jenna suggested it over their third glass of wine. Now, sitting alone in her apartment, it felt monumentally stupid. "Date me tonight? I promise I'm more fun than I look." The text was meant for Derek from accounting, the guy who'd been awkwardly flirting with her for months. Jenna had bet her $50 she wouldn't have the guts to be forward for once in her life. Maya had accepted, riding the liquid courage. She hit send. 3 seconds later, her phone buzzed with a response that made her blood run cold. "Wrong number, but I'm intrigued. My tent. Now, backyard, you'll know which one." Maya's stomach dropped. She looked at the contact name, not Derek Accounting. It was Fox Neighbor. She'd saved him under that name 6 months ago when she'd moved into the duplex. Her neighbor in the adjacent unit was a wilderness survival instructor named Kieran, who seemed to spend more time outdoors than inside. He had rust-colored hair that fell shaggily around his angular face, eyes the color of amber, and a lean, athletic build that suggested he could probably survive a zombie apocalypse with nothing but a pocket knife and determination. He was also criminally attractive, which was precisely why Maya had been avoiding him since the day she'd moved in and nearly dropped a box of her romance novels at his feet. Her phone buzzed again. "Clock's ticking, mystery woman, I don't wait long." Maya's face burned. She could ignore it, pretend her phone died, move to a different city, change her identity. Or, and this was the wine talking, she could own the mistake. March over there, apologize for the mix-up, laugh it off like a mature adult, and return to her Saturday night of Netflix and regret. Before she could overthink it further, Maya grabbed her jacket and headed outside. The shared backyard of their duplex was dark except for the warm glow emanating from a large canvas tent pitched near the fire pit. Of course, Kieran had a tent set up. The man probably practiced urban camping for fun. Maya approached slowly, her heart hammering. She could hear movement inside, the rustle of fabric. "Hello?" she called out, her voice embarrassingly shaky. The tent flap opened and Kieran emerged, looking even more unfairly attractive in the firelight. He wore a dark Henley and jeans, his hair slightly mussed. When he saw her, one corner of his mouth lifted in a slow smile that did dangerous things to her pulse. "Maya," he said, her name rolling off his tongue like he'd been waiting to say it. "I had a feeling it was you." "You did." She clutched her jacket tighter. "How? I've only given my number to 3 people in this neighborhood. 2 of them are over 70. His amber eyes glinted with amusement. "Process of elimination." Maya wanted the earth to swallow her whole. "Listen, that text was a mistake. My friend dared me to send something bold to this guy from work, and I clicked the wrong contact," Kieran finished. He stepped closer, studying her face with an intensity that made her forget how to breathe properly. "Disappointing. I thought maybe you'd finally noticed me." "Finally noticed you?" The words came out higher than intended. "You're the one who barely says hello when we pass each other. Because you look terrified every time I try." He crossed his arms, and Maya tried not to notice how the movement emphasized his shoulders. "Like I'm going to drag you into the woods and teach you survival skills against your will." "That's not," Maya stopped. Was that actually how she'd been acting? "I'm not terrified of you." "No." Kieran's smile widened. "Then why are you standing 10 feet away?" "Because this is monumentally embarrassing." "It doesn't have to be." He gestured toward the tent. "You sent a text asking for a date. I responded with an invitation. Seems straightforward to me." Maya gaped at him. You can't be serious. I'm very serious. Kieran moved to the fire pit and began arranging kindling with practiced efficiency. I was planning to spend the night out here anyway, testing new gear. You're welcome to join me, no pressure. But fair warning, I make excellent campfire coffee and I've been told I'm surprisingly good company. This was insane. She should go back inside, pour herself another glass of wine, and pretend this never happened. Instead, Maya found herself asking, "What kind of coffee?" Kieran glanced up, his expression pleased. "The kind that makes instant coffee weep in shame." Against all logic and self-preservation, Maya stepped closer to the fire pit. "I'm holding you to that standard. I'd expect nothing less." Kieran struck a match and flames began to lick at the kindling. "So tell me about this guy from accounting. Derek, was it?" Maya blinked. "How did you? Your friend Jenna has a loud phone voice, thin walls." He arranged larger pieces of wood over the growing fire. "She calls you every Sunday night. Sometimes I hear her trying to set you up with various guys. Derek's been the main candidate for about 3 months." The fact that he'd been paying that much attention sent a warm flutter through Maya's chest. Eavesdropping on my conversations. Unintentionally benefiting from poor insulation, Kieran corrected. He pulled out a small camping pot and began preparing coffee with the kind of focus some people reserved for surgery. "For what it's worth, Derek sounds boring. He's nice. Nice is what you say about someone when they have no other distinguishing qualities." Kieran poured water from a canteen. "You deserve better than nice. And what would you suggest instead?" Kieran looked up, holding her gaze across the fire. "Someone who notices things, like how you read on your balcony every Saturday morning with coffee in that oversized mug. How you hum when you're cooking dinner sounds like old jazz standards. How you take the long way home from work on Thursdays, probably to avoid something or someone." Maya's breath caught. She'd been so certain he barely registered her existence. "Thursday is when my boss does his weekly mood swings," she admitted quietly. "The long route gives me time to decompress." "Smart." Kieran set the pot over the fire. "What do you do?" "Graphic design, mostly corporate branding, which is as soul-crushing as it sounds." She settled onto one of the camp chairs near the fire. "Your turn. What does a wilderness survival instructor do when he's not, apparently, eavesdropping on neighbors?" "I teach people how not to die in the woods." His tone was dry but affectionate. "Corporate team building mostly, sometimes private clients who think they want to get back to nature until they realize nature involves bugs and no Wi-Fi. Sounds fulfilling. It has its moments." He pulled 2 enamel mugs from a pack. "Last week I had a CEO who insisted he could start a fire using only positive visualization. That was entertaining." Maya laughed, the sound surprised out of her. "How long did you let him try?" 20 minutes. Then his assistant threatened to sue me for emotional distress on his behalf." Kieran poured coffee into both mugs, the rich aroma cutting through the wood smoke. He handed her one. "Fair warning, this is strong." She took a sip and her eyes widened. It was perfect, smooth, dark, with a complexity that made grocery store coffee seem like a crime. "Okay, you weren't lying. I never lie about coffee." Kieran settled into the chair beside her, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from him. "Or about most things, actually. Survival training beats the dishonesty out of you. Nature doesn't care about your excuses." They fell into comfortable silence, watching the fire dance. Maya couldn't remember the last time she'd felt this relaxed around someone new. Usually, first dates, not that this was a date, except maybe it was. left her anxious and performative, trying to be the version of herself that seemed most acceptable. With Kieran, she just felt like herself. "Can I ask you something?" Kieran's voice was quieter now, thoughtful. "Sure." "Why, Derek, from what I've overheard, he sounds like he wants you to be someone you're not." Maya traced the rim of her mug. "Jenna thinks I'm too picky, that I'm waiting for some perfect person who doesn't exist. And Derek is you settling. Derek is me trying to be realistic. That's depressing." Kieran leaned forward, his expression serious. "You know what I teach in survival training? That the worst decisions come from underestimating what you need. People think they can make do with less water, less food, less preparation. Then they end up in real trouble. Are we still talking about dating? We're talking about not selling yourself short." His amber eyes caught the firelight. "You walked over here tonight even though you were embarrassed. That takes guts. Don't waste that bravery on someone who makes you feel like you should be smaller." The words hit harder than Maya expected. She'd spent so long trying to be practical, reasonable, settling for good enough in her job, her relationships, her life. "What if I don't know what I actually want?" she asked softly. Kieran was quiet for a moment. Then he stood, extending his hand. "Come on. Where? Trust me." Maya took his hand, warm, calloused, steady, and let him lead her away from the fire toward the darker edge of the yard. When they were far enough from the tent's glow, Kieran stopped and pointed up. The sky had opened above them, stars scattered across the darkness like diamonds on velvet. In the city, Maya usually only saw the brightest few, but here, somehow, thousands were visible. "How? New moon, no light pollution from this angle." Kieran stood close behind her, his voice low near her ear. "When people get lost in the wilderness, you know what the first rule is. Find water. Stop moving." His hand brushed her shoulder, turning her slightly to face north. "Figure out where you actually are before you decide where you're going. See that constellation? That's Cassiopeia. It always points to Polaris, the North Star. As long as you can find it, you're never truly lost." Maya stared up at the stars, feeling something shift inside her chest. "I've lived here 6 months and never looked up. Most people don't." His hand was still on her shoulder, warm through her jacket. "They're so focused on where they think they should be going that they forget to see where they are." She turned to face him, and in the starlight his features were softer, more open. "Is that what you think I'm doing? I think you're brave enough to send that text tonight even to the wrong person, maybe especially to the wrong person." His thumb traced a gentle circle on her shoulder. "The question is what you want to do about it." Maya's heart was racing again, but this time it wasn't from embarrassment. "This is crazy. We barely know each other." "Then let's fix that." Kieran's smile was slow, genuine. "Stay, talk to me. Let me make you breakfast when the sun comes up. I do amazing things with a camp stove. No expectations, no pressure, just two neighbors who should have had a real conversation months ago." Every reasonable voice in Maya's head screamed that this was impulsive, reckless, completely unlike her, which was exactly why she said, "Okay." Kieran's entire expression brightened. "Yeah, yeah." Maya felt a grin spreading across her face. "But I'm warning you, I'm a terrible camper. I once got lost in a state park with marked trails. Good thing you have a guide." He led her back toward the tent, his hand finding hers naturally. "And for the record, I'm glad you sent that text to the wrong person." "Me too," Maya admitted. As they settled by the fire, Kieran began telling her about the time he'd taught a reality TV star how to build a shelter, and she'd tried to pay him in Instagram promotions. Maya countered with stories about her most ridiculous client requests. The conversation flowed like they'd been doing this for years, punctuated by laughter and comfortable silences. Somewhere around 3 a.m., wrapped in one of Kieran's spare sleeping bags and watching the fire burn down to embers, Maya realized that maybe Jenna had been wrong. She wasn't too picky. She'd just been looking in all the wrong places. Sometimes the best things in life came from wrong numbers and right neighbors. And sometimes the bravest thing you could do was say yes to something unexpected. When the sun finally rose, painting the sky in shades of amber that matched Kieran's eyes, Maya was exactly where she wanted to be.